Hey everyone, welcome back. So, the fourth para of the Quran is just loaded with amazing guidance on everything from our connection with God to how we build a strong society and even how we navigate our day-to-day lives. Today, we're going to unpack its core teachings and we'll be using the fantastic summary from Khulasatul Quran as our guide. All right, so here's our roadmap. We're going to tackle this para through four key themes. We'll start with the personal stuff, the foundations of worship. Then we'll zoom out to look at the identity of the Muslim society. After that, we'll get into some really practical guidance for the believer, and we'll wrap up with the super important family and social laws that provide the structure for a just community. So, let's dive into our first section. This is all about the bedrock of our faith, the essential acts of worship. These are the pillars that really shape our personal relationship with God. And we kick things off with a really powerful verse from Surah Al-Imran that talks about charity. But listen, it sets a surprisingly high standard for what it means to truly give. And here it is, the real core of it. True righteousness, it isn't just about giving away your leftovers or the stuff you don't need anymore. It's about giving from the things you actually love, the things you cherish. That's the real gut check, That's where sincerity is truly tested. So, building on that idea of sincere devotion, the Parah shifts our focus to the physical heart of worship for all of humanity. This next verse points to the very first house ever established for the worship of the one God. And this just perfectly lays out the significance of the Kaaba in Mecca. I mean, it's not just any building, right? It's literally designated as the first house of worship, a hub of blessings and guidance, and a sanctuary that promises security to anyone who enters its area. So, if you have this central place of worship, it totally makes sense that there's a special act of devotion tied to it. And that's exactly what this next verse does. It establishes the pilgrimage, the Hajj, as a fundamental duty for us. But here's what's so beautiful about this. Notice the condition. Yes, Hajj is an obligation, a duty we owe to God, but it's specifically for those who have the physical health and the financial resources to make the trip. It's this perfect balance of a powerful act of worship and divine mercy. Okay, so we've talked about personal devotion. Now let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture, the collective. What exactly defines the Muslim community, the Ummah, and what is our purpose here? Now, this is one of the most defining verses for the Muslim community for sure. It says, "You are the best community ever raised for humanity." Wow. But here's the thing. This incredible title isn't just for show. It comes with a huge responsibility. So what is that responsibility? Well, it's a three-part mission. The role of this best community is to actively promote everything that's good and just, to stand up against and forbid what's wrong and unjust, and to do it all while being totally grounded in a solid belief in God. It's a very proactive, moral job description. And, the Quran is also super practical. It gives us real-world advice for protecting the integrity of this community. This verse here is a crucial piece of advice about who you let into your inner circle. Basically, the wisdom here is all about spiritual and social protection. It's telling us to be smart and discerning about who we trust with our secrets, warning that some people might be hiding bad intentions and could cause real harm. It's timeless advice, really. Choose your friends wisely. And to really drive home the point about relying on God, the para takes us back to a pivotal moment in Islamic history, the Battle of Badr. It reminds the believers of the time God gave them victory, even when they were totally weak and outnumbered. And this is the lesson from Badr that echoes through time. True victory, real success. It doesn't come from having more people, more money, or better weapons. It comes from God's help. It's such a powerful lesson in humility and trust. Okay, so let's zoom back in again, from the community to the individual believer. This next section gives us some core principles meant to shape our daily actions, our thoughts, and our whole state of being. I love this next verse. It just paints such a vivid, beautiful picture of a person who is truly conscious and aware. It describes those who remember God in every possible situation. And that's the whole point, right? Faith isn't something you just do for 5 minutes on a prayer mat. The goal is to cultivate this constant awareness, this remembrance of God. Whether you're standing up at work, sitting down with family, or even just lying down to rest, it's about having a continuous connection. All right, for our final section, we're shifting gears to the nuts and bolts of building a just society. This part of the Parah, mostly from the beginning of Surah An-Nisa, gives us a framework for fairness in our most important relationships. And what's amazing is how these laws create a blueprint for a fair society, starting with the most vulnerable among us. First, it establishes ironclad protection for orphans, making it a major sin to cheat them out of their property. Then it lays out a clear inheritance system. For instance, it specifies a male heir gets twice the share of a female, which is often tied to the historical expectations of men being financially responsible for the family. The guidance also covers marriage, allowing up to 4 wives, but, and this is a huge but, it comes with a non-negotiable condition of being able to treat them all with perfect justice. And finally, it sets sacred family boundaries by listing who you can and cannot marry.
And as we wrap this all up, the Quran leaves us with this incredible, all-encompassing advice from the end of Surah Al-Imran. It's a call to be patient, to persevere through challenges, and to always remain steadfast in doing what's right.
So there you have it, a quick flyover of the major themes in the 4th Parah. And remember, this whole breakdown was based on the insightful summary found in Khulasatul Quran by Maulana Muhammad Ilyas Guman. So, as we finish, I want to leave you with a question to think about. In the world we live in today, how can we take this divine guidance on worship, community, and justice and really apply it to make our own lives and our societies better? This explainer was put together by the team here at Ummah 360. If you want more content just like this, make sure you download our app from the Play Store or the App Store. Thanks so much for joining us.